Hey, this is Matt Cain with the San Francisco Giants, and you guys are listening to Torture Cast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants.
Let's go, Giants!
With hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, Ben Lee, and Eric Nathanson. Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast.
Standing on time, not gonna stop. We came to play, ain't slowing down. Falling on, we're here to stay, and we're stomping on whatever's in our way. I'm feeling like a Giant tonight.
It's Monday, April 18th, 2016, and this is episode 102 of the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. And we got two fans on the line right now. Myself, one, Chad King, and of course joining me, as usual, Eric Nathanson. Eric, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'd be doing better if the Giants could perform on Sunday Night Baseball, but I mean, hey, we all have our flaws. But I'm doing well. It's beautiful weather in Florida today. It's nice. It's nice to be doing this before they come home for a big homestand. So looking forward to the Giants and this episode.
Yeah, I think the Giants need to get healthy at home this week because the last road trip wasn't so good. Of course, they went to Colorado for 3 and LA for 3 and dropped 4 of them. So, wasn't catastrophic by any means, but 2 and 4 wasn't exactly a great road trip. You want to always try and hover around 500, but that's just a one-game difference. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about this. Let's go into some of the minutia that we saw. First of all, Colorado. I mean, that's just it's just a hellhole, man.
Yep.
I mean, seriously, like I wrote here in the notes, Coors Field should just be destroyed. They should not allow baseball in high altitude. It doesn't matter. I mean, the humidor, I guess, has helped a little bit. They've shown that. But you just can't get around it because, the park is so large to try and compensate for the home runs. But in the meantime, that's just more space for balls to drop, bigger gaps for balls to travel, for triples. It is what it is. It's a pitcher's nightmare, hitter's paradise, of course. The Blake Street Bombers, and now you got guys like Trevor Story and others. They hit well there. The Rockies have, I think, almost every single year but 1 or 2 have had a winning record at home, despite how bad that team can actually be.
I totally believe it because they're so comfortable when they're at home.
They are. It's their home field advantage. And I think it was before Kruk and Kipe on Game 1. They were talking about kind of the anxiety of heading into Coors Field. You don't know what it's going to do to your pitching staff. And, yeah, your hitters might do well, but, the games are 4 hours long, 15 runs combined or more. You have a 4-run lead in the 7th. It's almost like a 1 or 2 run lead in any other park.
And that was the weird thing about this series in Colorado was the Giants jumped out early. They had Samardzija with a solid start. They kept Colorado to 2 runs. They put up 7 themselves. They, kept adding on as well. That was Trevor Brown's 2-homer game. And, they seemed to say, okay. And then the next 2 days just turned into, houses of horrors over and over and over again.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time no matter even if it's in Colorado, it doesn't matter where it is. Whenever they win the first game of a 3-game series, I mean, it feels great because you're thinking, okay, we split the next 2. We won the series. This is great. But I swear more often than not, they win that first game and just shit happens in the next 2. It's almost like I'd rather them lose the first game and then they'll win the next 2. I don't know. I don't have any stats to back that up. I'm sure it's not true. It just feels like it, I guess. Maybe I've been sensitive to it.
Both games, well, think about it. Both games were kind of wonky in the sense that in the PV start the next day, Colorado had something like 11 extra base hits off of him or something like that.
Yeah, he tied the record.
And then the next day, Kane had that inning that ended up being taken over by Heston where the Rockies scored 9 runs where I tweeted it that day. It was like a root canal that inning. It just kept getting worse and worse. Yeah, it was something like that. The 5th inning in the 3rd game. And they gave up the 9 runs and the game was like, oh crap. And you said it.
And they still almost came back.
Yes, you said it. You could be down 4 or 5 and still be in it. And the Giants came close to that and then they gave up a couple more.
Yeah, what was it, 9-1, I think, after that 9-run inning, and then they made it 9-6.
Right.
And it was like, oh, crap. And then they gave up another 2 runs, and I think lost 11-6. But yeah, let's look at those games. I mean, Samardzija, like you said, he pitched very, very well, especially for Colorado.
I didn't expect that. I
No.
mean, I expected him to pitch better in a Giants uniform, but I didn't think in Colorado he'd go out and dominate.
No, I expected. I mean, getting the 1 win is great. I didn't think it was going to be Samardzija's start, but he performed very well. Now, Kane, on the other hand, the first 4 innings, he gave up 1 hit. I mean, he was cruising. Yeah. He was absolutely magnificent, and then it just fell apart in the 5th. And baseball is. What do they say about starters? They spread out. 10 hits over 6 innings, that kind of thing. If you concentrate your good contact into 1 inning, it's not going to go well. If it comes in a run, that's when the runs really pile on, and that's what unfortunately happened to Matt Cain. If he had a few of those hits in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, it might have been a couple of 3 runs at the most. But unfortunately, it was all concentrated in the inning, and Heston took over, and he didn't look good either. I'm never going to get too worried about any single pitcher or even the staff not doing well in Colorado. You really have to just chalk that up as an anomaly. Every staff that comes in has problems there. So I'm not going to use that as I'm worried about Matt Cain, because he looked so good for 4 innings. So, and his previous
start. He struck out 7 in 4.
Yeah. And his previous start, he allowed 2 runs.
He was feeling it.
Yeah. No, I think my fears of Cain have been allayed somewhat because, yes, he's had a couple of bad innings this season. I grant that, but he's not consistently bad so far. He's had very, very many good innings of looking really good. So hopefully that's not going to be a problem.
It just seemed unfortunate that it was him that was starting that game in Colorado because, like you said, the pitchers are going to get battered. The Giants have a team to withstand the pitchers getting battered this year, too. That's the nice thing is we don't have to be like, oh, my God, this guy's done because he gave up so many runs. Yeah. Kane and Peavy had their starts, but here they'll get, tonight and tomorrow night at home to totally turn that around. And we'll all be like, wow. I mean, if Kane throws 7 innings tomorrow night, everybody will be thrilled.
Yeah, so no. PB, on the other hand, we'll get to him later. He's a bit of a concern for me, that's for sure. But what are you going to do? You've never been concerned about PV, right? Ever?
No, not once. No,
You've totally been his biggest cheerleader in the corner.
I have. I've backed that guy 100%, I swear it. Well, you talked about the Rockies. The one guy we didn't mention, Arenado lit it up, but we never heard from Trevor Story. The Giants pitchers exposed him early on.
He struck out a lot.
Yeah, Samardzija especially showed that if you get 2 strikes on him, you can work him away, and he's going to keep chasing it. And it continued this weekend. I watched the Rockies-Cubs series. Trevor Story is not, this on-fire, unbelievable, great thing. It's everything coming back down to earth for him. The Giants shut him down completely.
Yeah. So pretty much Coors Field, this is the way I feel about it.
All right. So, I'm just going to go out in the hallway and throw up about something else.
Every time.
Every time. Yeah, they have to go back there, obviously, another, 2 times at least this year? 19 against each, 6 in each, or 3 in each park, so.
Yeah, that's funny. I looked ahead to the next time they play the Dodgers, but not the next time they play the Rockies.
No, why would we do that? Oh, man.
Right?
So, look, they move on to L.A. Obviously, we're thinking, let's get 2 out of 3. They just took 3 out of 4 from L.A. at home, and it really could have been a sweep. It was really close to being a 4-game sweep, which would have been magical, but, we'll take 3 out of 4 any day. And unfortunately, they did lose 2 out of 3. They were relatively close games, and it's just one of those series that's so frustrating because, a ball goes just a different way in 1 or 2 of those games, and it could have easily been 2 out of 3, if not a sweep. But, I think that's the truth in probably 80% of baseball games, to be honest. It's not like it's just happens to the Giants and it doesn't happen to the Dodgers. But, they lost 2 out of 3. But, Bumgarner, he wasn't great, but he wasn't that bad. The score wouldn't indicate that. But, of course, the biggest flaw that night was their defense. Their usually characteristically good defense was just not good at all. Highlighted by guys like Kelby Tomlinson, who also, by the way, blew the one game they lost back in San Francisco. Because they had that bases loaded 1 out, double
Adrian
play ball.
Gonzalez ball, ground ball to him.
Yeah, so that it wasn't an error, but we all know it was an error because he still got 1 out. Yeah,
You
and
can't
then
assume, but things can be assumed.
you can never assume, but you can assume as a fan, definitely. So, yeah, shit happens, and Tomlinson, I really like the guy. I think he's a gamer. He's just in a little bit of a bad defensive rut right now. He needs to get it together. He's only been in there, of course, because Crawford was hurt for a little bit, and Adrianza, of course, is out 4 to 6 weeks now with a broken foot. So, he was pressed into service. So, hopefully he learns from his mistakes, and the young guy can come back and perform admirably the rest of the year, because I don't know who else they have to bring up that would, quote, replace him after a couple of errors. And they're not going to do that. They trust the guy.
No,
He did well
they're
last year.
not. Well, it's funny. I don't either. It's a problem. As much as depth's always been a problem, we've always had like infield bench guys. That's been no problem. But with Adrianza going down, it's like, okay, Kelby, you've got to do everything now. And yeah, he's booted a couple, when he had to step up there. That was Friday night's game was another one of those games where, like you said, it was close and a couple things happen, and then all of a sudden it all just kind of snowballs. And then once it was 6-1 against Kershaw, I mean, nobody's coming back from a 6-1 deficit.
Now he's the
Kershaw.
exact opposite of a game at Coors Field. A 6-1 lead at Coors Field.
Yes.
When the Giants were down 9-1, they came back and made it 9-6. 6-1 against Kershaw is more like a 15-1 lead at Coors Field.
Yeah, the game
really
is over. He is one of the best. It's just the way it is. And he was pretty on Friday night too. I thought that when the Giants put together a little rally in the top of the sixth, it showed that they could get to him because they put two more across. But at that point, they weren't getting anything else done, and then they gave up another run and ended it.
Yeah. And, there was an at-bat I think Posey had with 2 runners on, and he smoked a ball. Smoked it for the out. So I think it was a line drive. Yeah, that's baseball, game of inches. What are you going to do? Giants have relied upon some of that luck for, some of their championship runs with bunts bouncing off third base and home runs bouncing off the top of the fence and not being home runs, things like that. So, yeah, that's why this game is so beautiful. That's why I love this game. Overall, 162 games, if you're good, it's going to show. But in a microcosm of a 10-game stretch of the first 2 weeks of a season or the playoffs, these small things can come back and just bite you just because of bad luck. And that's, the way it is.
Wasn't it crazy though how intense, even when they were in LA, these 7 games against the Dodgers have been to start the season? Oh, yeah. Like it's felt like September, October baseball watching these games. Last night got the Sunday night baseball treatment, and and it was a close game, so it felt like okay, people are paying attention to the Giants and Dodgers. Like I can't remember stuff being this intense in April in the last few years.
No. I think the rivalry definitely has increased lately. Social media is number one, but behind that, the Giants have won 3 out of 5, or now 3 out of 6. The Dodgers have won 3 NL West titles in a row. I mean, both of them are at the top of their game right now.
Well, I feel like maybe though the Dodgers are looking at the Giants like, oh shit, these guys are good. We better try to stay out ahead of them, because all the talk you'd hear and. On Sunday Night Baseball last night, I was surprised to hear them talking up before the game and during the game the Giants' offense and how they think that the Giants are built for it this year.
Yeah,
the kind of things I've been stumping, which was really kind of scary, about how good their offense is top to bottom, especially now that the Bochy has tinkered with the lineup and he's batting the pitcher 8th, which is turning the order over a lot more. I mean, it's funny. I looked at that a little bit, and they're scoring about the same amount of runs per game when they bat the pitcher 8th and the pitcher 9th. Mm-hmm. And they've gone 5-5 in the 10 of the 13, but it seems to be working. We've seen rallies get started with Pagan, then Span, then Panic, or Blanco, then Pagan, and Panic. Mm-hmm. We've seen that happen a couple of times. So it kind of the Giants were getting the treatment of these are one of the best teams, and it was weird to hear from ESPN. It was really strange to hear that in the midst of these April games that felt like September games, they're talking about the Giants in terms of they could win first place, they could win it all type stuff. Yeah. And no, we don't hear that from ESPN. What we hear from ESPN is crap usually, and we hate it when the Giants are on ESPN.
We really do. In fact, McCovey Chronicles is calling it the curse of Bristol. And of course, ESPN is based in Bristol, Connecticut. And here's why. The Giants have lost 8 consecutive Sunday night baseball games, and they've been outscored 41-12. I mean, that's just silly. I mean, there's no reason that should happen. I mean, no team should lose 8 in a row on Sunday Night Baseball or Monday nights under full moons or wearing a black uniform. I mean, it's just stupid. It's coincidence. It's a funny streak. I'm sure there's absolutely nothing about playing at 5 o'clock with the weird shadows or being on ESPN or having the national commentators, not being a homer for you. I don't know, but it has nothing to do with the team, obviously. A lot of fans seem to react that way, but the reality is, these guys are professionals. They've been on the main stage in the playoffs for 3 years, and it is what it is. It's just a funny streak. That's all it is. It's an oddity of sports. So, do I want to see many more Sunday Night Baseball games? I don't think so. But the next one I think is May 22nd against the Cubs, and it's like, if they lose their 9th in a row, well, it's the freaking Cubs. They're good this year, so what are you gonna do? They're not like mopping up against the Phillies that night.
12 runs in 8 games, though. That's crazy to me. Yeah. And think about how many of those games
they have not scored more than
4th inning.
Exactly, and they have not scored more than 3 in any of those 8. So.
Oh, that's pathetic.
Pathetic.
So many weeks. It's early on. It's like, oh man, really again? And I mean, it just happens.
Yeah. So we kind of skipped. I have it here, but in L.A., Cueto. My God, his performance. He was great. He looked like a kid just toying with people. He just looked like he was having fun. He's like, I'll try this now. I'm going to wiggle this way. I'm going to pause an extra half second here. And he just had the Dodgers hitters completely off balance. I mean, it was a masterful performance. And he had a no-hitter through 5, whatever. It wasn't a big deal. But he only allowed that 1 run through, I believe it was 7 or so. He looked really, really good. His pitch count got up a little bit, but overall, great performance. Unfortunately, fortunately the Giants won, but unfortunately the bullpen really, coughed it up. And in fact, Casilla came in with a 4-3 lead and allowed a leadoff double. And right away, you're just thinking, crap, that's it. I mean, they're going to at least tie it here. Move the runner over to third with 1 out. And it's like, well, now you just need a bloop, a sac fly, an error, a wild pitch, anything. And fortunately, they got a pop-up and then ended the game on a fly-out instead of the other way around, which probably would have tied it. But so at least they were able to nail that one down. But yeah, Cueto looked really good. He's looked good so far. The only bad inning he's had is the 1 5-run inning at home against the Dodgers, in which he actually won that game. Funny enough. So
he's 3-0. I mean, I know pitcher wins aren't as big anymore, but they've won all 3 of his starts, and he's gotten the win all 3 times.
And what's really weird, he's bum. I mean, he's not pitching poorly. He's definitely not the bum we expect, but he's, I'm not concerned about him or anything. But yeah, the Giants have lost 2 out of the 3 games he started. Kind of funny.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, Cueto was masterful. I mean, I'm looking back at these innings. He's throwing 6 pitches, 2 pitches.
Mm-hmm.
Just 3 pitches, 5 pitches. That's a 10-pitch inning. There's an 11-pitch inning the next inning. Like, you're right. He was toying with them. It was. He even said it in the Chris Taft story, the one that comes on our at-bat app.
Yeah.
He said something about how he was changing things up just to amuse himself.
Yeah, he was making things up on the mound, he said. He was trying new things on the mound. He's like, I'll do this now. I'm going to... Yeah, it's funny, but I mean, that speaks to a person who has confidence. He's feeling good. He's in the groove. He's in the zone. And when you're in that kind of zone, I mean, that's what you can do. You have the confidence to try new things. And it worked out really well. I mean, we all expect really big things from Cueto because he, aside from being in the American League, for most of last year or half of last year, I mean, he has been one of the most dominant pitchers in the NL over the last 5 years. So there's no reason, and that was pitching in a hitter's ballpark in Cincinnati. Yeah. There's no reason to not expect
and these road
him
parks,
to do well the next 3 years
right.
of the Giants.
He's been cycling through these same road parks. It's not like an AL guy coming over, and Samardzija's not even like that either. He only spent a little time in the AL too.
Yeah.
But Cueto gives, like last season, I felt like if the Giants didn't win a Bumgarner start, it was a totally missed opportunity because last season's pitching staff felt like Bumgarner and other stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so if they lost a Bumgarner start, it was a missed opportunity. Now, seeing Cueto pitch after Bumgarner, I don't feel like it's as huge a missed missed opportunity that they lost the Friday night game because Cueto's going to go out there the next night. I don't think the Giants are going to end up in any extended losing streaks this season because of Cueto and Bumgarner being back to back, because Cueto's phenomenal. The guy, not only is he talented, he knows it and he's willing to work at it. He gets the ball up there at like 95 when he has to.
Yeah, and I love the way his pace is masterful. He gets that ball and chucks it right away. I mean, he is he is fun to watch. He really is. So I'm really glad the Giants secured him. But and like we said, Samardzija has had some really good promise in his first 3 starts. We're not really worried about Bum, and we'll get to the other guys in a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about the offense. I want to start with Buster Posey. This is actually pretty funny. Buster Posey had a streak that was just broken in his last at-bat last night. He had a streak of 18 hitless at-bats until he singled in his 4th at-bat last night. So I looked back and on baseballreference.com, and I had a look in a couple of game logs, but he almost tied his career longest hitless streak of 19 at-bats in 2013. But the funny thing is that he's still hitting 250 after 1 for 19. So it kind of tells you that he started the season pretty hot, So I mean, none of us are worried about Posey, No,
the bruised foot was probably a big factor.
It probably was a factor, certainly for the first half of those ABs. Who knows? But
he also had the flu. John Miller was talking about it.
He had the flu
too.
Yeah.
Miller said on the radio last night that he was talking to Buster the day before, and Buster said he'd never had the flu like this before, that this has hit him harder than any flu or anything like that in his entire life. So he's kind of dragging ass a little bit. That's why coming home, I think, is so good for them right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you and I get the flu, and we're like, we can't even type on our computer for work.
Yep.
And he's out there trying to physically perform under, duress and everything. I mean, it's pretty incredible what these athletes can do or are willing to do under unfortunate circumstances. But, yeah, I don't think anyone's worried about Posey.
No, I'm looking at the stat line. He still looks pretty well.
No, absolutely. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because we're talking about offense. But
right.
Matt Duffy. He's, look, again, it's small sample size. We all know this, but, a full season is 500 to 600 at-bats, and he's got 52 at-bats.
Yep.
So he might be 8% into a season. Again, a lot of season left. It's okay. 9 for 52, and that's a 171 average. Now, if he does that in the middle of the year or near the end of the year, his average drops 10 points, 20 points, right? But it just is magnified when your slumps are at the beginning of the year because you see that batting average. I think that's what it is. I think most people are looking at the 171. That's like what a pitcher hits. It's like, okay, well, he's just slumping at the beginning of the year. The guy's had just a great track record of being a high average kind of guy everywhere, including AA, where it's a tough pitchers league or tough hitters because the pitchers are so good. So I'm not too worried about him right now, but it's one of those things. They don't really have anyone to replace, So
no.
I think as of right now, let's assume this. Obviously, no one's concerned about him right now in terms of the front office. But what if he's still hitting 200 or less, let's say, after 30 games, 35 games, almost a quarter of the way into the season? I don't know what other options the Giants might have in that case. I'm not thinking that's going to happen, but I'm just looking forward to possibilities. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, that's true. I said it last night. They need a poster. Wanted backup corner infielder. Mm-hmm. Please apply at 24 Willie Mays Plaza, because he could really use a day off. He could use a couple days off. Because the thing I worry about with Matt is he's 25. I mean, I know he's been in the bigs for a year and a half, 2 years now, but he's a young guy and he hasn't faced a slump like this. And you worry that because the slump started out with hard hit balls at people, and now it's turned into him. Yeah. Yes, and now it's turned into him rolling over things and lunging at first pitches and swinging
out
at
and
things
striking
out of
out
his
a
own.
lot. Yeah,
right. So it shows that he's just totally, he's in the funk. He needs a couple days off. But with Adrianza down at the moment, that like limits the opportunities of who's going to play third base to give him a day. I agree with you. Long term, I don't think that there's any worry about Matt Duffy. I think even if he's hitting 230, 15 days, 2 more weeks from now, I think they still stick with him. I think in a month and a half, if he's still hitting 200, 225, they still stick with him. I think they've committed to him long term, and his defense outweighs certain things that happen because they can get more pop from other places. And that's the thing, is even if he's in the slump, he'll provide pop once in a while. It's just going to happen, which is so weird because he's like a string bean.
I mean, A-Rod's in the same
but
kind of slump,
I wouldn't worry about
They're
him.
not going to replace him anytime soon. So, yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah.
No. They're going to stay with him, but it just sucks that he's in this funk because of the reasons I said with being young. You hope he's not like trying even harder now to get out of it, because that could really put him deeper into a funk. He really needs a couple days off. I don't know what the answer is except for that. I really don't.
No, absolutely. Apologize for the phone call there. I should have unplugged my phone. But anyway, so let's talk about injuries right now. So we got Sergio Romo. Now, this is a little bit of a concern because I think we all like the guy. He's a good setup man. He's been with the Giants, obviously, forever. Love his personality, his game face, everything. He woke up. Well, he had a little discomfort in the bullpen. I believe it was in Colorado. And then he woke up the next day, and it really hurt. So they sent him home, and everybody was assuming the worst. Of course, we're all thinking about Tommy John and a torn tendon. But apparently it's a strained flexor, or sorry, I should say ligament. It's a strained flexor tendon. So it's, according to the Giants, it's nothing structurally damaged right now. It's just a strain. And they're going to reevaluate in 2 weeks. So they did put him on the 15-day DL, and he's going to, they're going to reevaluate him, see if he can throw in a couple of weeks. Matt Cain had the same thing last year. He was out for 3 months because of the sprained flexor tendon. However, this is during spring training. He hadn't built up his innings yet. He was also coming off elbow surgery, in the fall. So he had a few other mitigating factors that probably extended his stay on the DL. But it's just one of those things where I've heard a couple of pitchers on MLB TV and other sources saying, yeah, it can start with a strained flexor tendon, but then that can put pressure on other things and things can happen. So this is something I think Sergio and the Giants are very aware of, more cautious than even we would be, and they're going to watch it closely. But the last thing we need is for him to push it. In fact, he was saying that he didn't realize that this was going on, and he probably was pushing it in his last couple of outings. And it's a good thing that he talked to the Giants. He basically said, look, something's wrong here, because part of him was saying, I just pitch through it. It'll be fine. But he could have been putting more stress on his ligaments, and that would have been just absolutely horrible if he had popped one.
Well, for him, it's good that he can do that. He's at a point in his career where he can go say that to them. He's not fighting for the bullpen spot. You know what I mean? He's got it locked up. But, they said it. You said they'll reevaluate in 2 weeks. He's not even allowed to pick up a baseball.
Nope.
Like, I'm holding a baseball right now. I'm playing with it in my hands, and Sergio Romo's not even allowed to do that for the next 10 days or so because they don't want the movement. And I'm sure that, they're telling him not to pick anything up with that hand. They don't want the movement to strain it more because, like you said, he probably already has been overcompensating and could go down a scary Tommy John road. So, I mean, hopefully he'll be okay, but this 2 weeks is probably going to be another month afterwards, I would think.
Yeah, he's not a Matt Harvey or Steven Strasburg who throws 98, and that's why, they had their Tommy Johns, because they throw so hard. But he does put extreme stress on the elbow with that three-quarter delivery and, of course, specifically the slider with the rotation of his wrist. And so those things do kind of make sense, in which has, strained his elbow. But, some guys just seem to be built who have rubber arms, a guy like Barry Zito, he was never hurt in his career. He just kept throwing. He was an innings eater. A guy like Jeff Samardzija, he can, bring it to 93, 94. It was an undisclosed scout who looked at his medical report from this last offseason and said he has the shoulder and elbow of a baby. I mean, apparently the guy is just built to do this, right? So There are certain people who gain the talent, but may not necessarily have the structural integrity and genetics to withstand those forces, you know. But let's just hope that Romo's going to be okay in a couple of weeks, because he's still very valuable to the Giants. But with that, Adrianza is our other injury update, who was also put on the DL. Of course, he fractured his foot. He's going to be out probably about 6 weeks or so. And in the meantime, they've called up 2 guys to replace him, Derek Law and Mac Williamson. Now, Mac Williamson obviously had an amazing spring. Led the team in home runs, and he definitely has that potential. He's only had 1 at bat so far. I think he had 1 in L.A. But Derek Law is the intriguing one to me, because this guy, he also had Tommy John surgery as well, but he has dominated every single level he has pitched. I mean, I remember when he was pitching for San Jose, 45 strikeouts, 1 walk, that kind of thing. He's dominated in AAA and AA. So it's also a really cool story because his dad, Joe Law, was a pitcher in the minor leagues. He had 9 professional seasons. And I guess Dave Stewart back in 1988 during the regular season in Cleveland was under the weather, and they thought they were going to need some bullpen help. So they called him up. And Dave Stewart ended up basically shaking off the flu and saying, nah, I'm good. And he went out there and basically pitched a complete game. I guess he was up for 4 days. And one of the other days, one of the starters was starting to get in trouble, or maybe it was Dave Stewart's start, I can't remember. And they told him to go warm up, and he warmed up, but then there was a pop-up or double play, and they didn't need him. That was it. He never got to pitch in the major leagues. He was called up for 4 days, went back to AAA, and just never made it back. It was kind of like the Moonlight Graham
yep.
situation in Field of Dreams. And, I got to admit, as a little kid and as a teenager, my biggest dream was to play Major League Baseball. Just wasn't talented enough. And to maybe get to that level, if you just flounder in the minor leagues, you'd be like, well, I played professional ball, but I never got close to the major leagues. But to be called up, to actually be called up to the major leagues, suit up, you got to take that as a positive. I understand saying I actually made it to the show, but to not get 1 appearance, that's got to be rough. You're right there. As Moonlight Graham said, it's like a stranger passing you in a crowd that you didn't notice. You just, ouch. So,
he was on the roster, but he never logged any game activity, which is
never entered a game. Never entered a game. And at least the compensation for him is the fact that his son did make it, and he finally made his major league debut this past week. And he had 1 full inning, and he got those 3 outs, and he looked good.
He struck out the side. He gave up, I believe it was a triple. Mm-hmm. I think it was a 1-out triple, and he struck out the side. And his family was there. Dad was there. They were soaking it up. They had video cameras going in the stands. It was such a great and fun moment to see, because Derek Law might stick around for a while. And this was just the beginning, and the whole family, treated him entering the game as such a familial accomplishment. Like the moment he threw that first pitch, he did what Dad couldn't. Exactly. So they kind of, it really was. It was as a baseball fan, it was one of those moments that you love, you soak up for a little bit, because we may not remember this game 100 games from now, but 50 years from now, he will, his parents will, or 15 years from now, and things like that. So that's part of what makes baseball special.
No, I love seeing.
But he's good.
No, but he's good. He's really good. There's no doubt. So if something does happen to Romo, well, we got Derek Law, and maybe he's going to be the answer. These things happen. This is what baseball and other sports. It's so cool because when someone goes down, the replacement may be just as good or better. And you might go, hey, there's a silver lining to this.
Yep.
So we'll see. Yep. Talking about the bullpen, Javier Lopez, my God, he has been almost untouchable. And one of Bochy's specialist weapons, of course, against lefties. Him and Affeldt, of course, over the years have been just their 2 dominant lefty situational guys. And Lopez probably more of a specialist than he was, but He's been hit a little hard. He's got 2 and 2/3 innings so far, 5 hits, 2 walks, a home run. His ERA is through the roof, but it doesn't matter about ERA with 2 innings. But what I've noticed in watching him, he is missing his spots. He's not keeping it low like he usually does and hitting the corners. He is just catching way too much of the plate. And there's been no report about him being sick or injured or hurting or anything else like that. So, it could just, again, be a bad rut. But for a guy who routinely, does not give up many runs throughout the entire course of the year, has already almost matched what he gives up in a year, pretty much.
Yeah, he gave up a homer to a lefty. He hadn't done that in like 2 years. And the time that he did that, he hadn't done it in like 2 years before then either. He's always rock solid. I hope it's not the end. I mean, Javi's older. He's 38, so he's getting up there.
Yeah,
So I hope that he didn't just hit a wall. I hope he's got one more season in him. I'm not ready to kick him to the curb just yet.
Oh, no, of course not.
Maybe at age 38 he needs a lot longer to get it going. But you're right, he's missing spots. Though those pitchers aren't sweeping through the zone the same way. He's already, what'd you say, he's walked 2 and given up 5 hits. So people are definitely squaring and seeing it up correctly. Yeah, you're right. Stuff's been flat. It hasn't been moving across as much. Yeah. And people have been hitting it. Hopefully he's just in a rut and not hitting the final wall, because having to replace Ethel at the same time makes it difficult. On the other hand, Osich, he threw well last night, and
Osich looked really
on
good.
the overall whole, he's been okay. He really has.
Yeah, no, he has. I just, Lopez is just one of those guys. When he came in, you're just like, oh, this guy's out. I mean, he's out.
Yep.
Some lefty, the one pitch or the one hitter he's going to hit or face against. But
yeah, and the runners would stay there. Lopez is in, so the runners, you stay there because it's over.
So I want to go to the starters. I think we talked a little bit about Kane already. I don't think you and I are terribly concerned about him so far. He's had a couple of bad innings, but overall he's exceeded my expectations. His stats aren't good, granted, but that's because things have been concentrated in a couple of innings. But holy crap, Peavy. What's the story with Peavy, man? He has looked absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. I mean, he's had spurts of greatness with the Giants, but overall he's not been fantastic. But right now, I mean, this is definitely the worst 3-game stretch, he's been through. So, not that he can't turn it around, but I have zero confidence when he's going on the mound right now. I mean, he gave up 11 extra base hits, which tied the MLB starters record. Granted, it was because, Bochy explained that, look, we were out Romo, they hadn't called up Law yet, they were short in the bullpen, and they were in Colorado, and they knew they needed to stretch their starters out for the innings. So that was really the main reason he kept him in, which is the reason he gave up so many runs and hits. But that being said, it's like, okay, he left you in, and you still continue to give up runs and hits and loud contact. I mean, he's just not fooling anyone right now. Not a soul. And Cueto has been talking about him, and, these guys are homers, and they love all their players, but, Cueto's like, yeah, he is completely missing his spots, completely catching too much of the plate, and he's not right now. And I'm really concerned about him because, you get another 3, 4, 5 starts with him, and if he keeps blowing it up, I mean, they got to do something else. I mean, Heston has not looked good either, so I don't know what the immediate answer is, but they're going to ride it. He's a veteran, and he's one of Bochy's faves, so he's going to, ride him out for a little while. But I know you haven't been his biggest cheerleader, so
yeah. But
so
this is so ironic because, it's funny because Cueto talking about him stuck out to me too, but I'm really not that concerned, and it's not because of Peavy. It's because of the offense and the other 4 starters that they're trotting out there right now. I'm okay with him getting battered a little bit, not too much. I mean, that was ridiculous the other day. But, I'm okay with him getting battered too much. Now, if the guy's consistently missing his spots and leaving stuff up, that's a different story, and you got to give Heston a shot. But, I'm not as concerned. I really – maybe I'm brainwashed by how much I like this offense this season.
Right.
But I feel like Peavy is such a veteran that he still pitches to keep the team in the game. And so if he knows he doesn't have his best stuff, he can fight through it to try to minimize the damage to keep the team going. Now, what's true is sometimes you can't rein it in, and that ball is going to keep drifting over the center of the plate. Hudson had the same problem.
Sure.
maybe a DL stint. It did him good last year. So maybe if he doesn't put it together over his next 3 starts, maybe they look into that and give Heston a shot. But other than I'm not crazy worried about him. I want to see him pitch. He's going to pitch at home twice during this upcoming 10-game homestand. Everybody's going to pitch at home twice during this homestand, and I'm kind of curious to see how they all look after that. 2 times through the rotation. I'm less concerned. I don't know what it is, but probably the offense. I don't think PV will be okay, but I don't think he's going to be as big of a detriment as he could be.
Oh, that's good. I hope you're right.
That's
man.
not a ringing endorsement. Yeah,
No,
it's not a ringing endorsement,
but
by no stretch. But
no, not at all. All right, so I want to do a little bit of a team stats update right now. The Giants are 8th in the National League with a .251 batting average, but 3rd in home runs, and slugging. And, of course, they hit home runs in each of their first 10 games, which was a nice little streak. So, like we talked about throughout this podcast, their offense has actually been pretty damn decent. The pitching, however, has not been fantastic. They are 8th in ERA at 4.42, leaders at 2.06. So that's more than twice as many runs. 9th in WHIP at 1.41, the leaders at .93, which is pretty amazing. And they're 14th, that's second to last, in batting average against at 274.
Ouch.
That's high. And, of course, the league leader's at 201. So that's not good. Again, beginning of the season, when you have a bad streak of pitching or hitting or whatever, stats are magnified because everyone looks at the overall and goes, oh, my God, he's only hitting 200. It's like, well, yeah, but he's got 30 at-bats or something. So let's not, raise the alarms quite yet. They're 7-6. They're not under 500. They're doing okay. But I fully expect, my prediction, this pitching is clearly going to get better overall in terms of their stats. I don't think they're going to be hanging down at the bottom, below the second half of the league for the rest of the year. I really don't. What do you think?
I don't think they're going to be in the top quarter or top 8 to the top teams at all. I think they'll just kind of be a middle of the road pitching staff. Their starters are allowing a 294 batting average against.
Oh my
the relievers
gosh.
are right. The relievers are at 229, and that kind of jumped out at me because I was concerned about the relievers. I thought the bullpen's been kind of shaky, but we got to factor in we had that Kane inning and the PV and all the extra base hits. That blows up these numbers as well. So like you say, with the small sample size, it doesn't necessarily bear fruit to how they're going to be. But overall, there's not much concern. The relievers, I'm even looking at it. The relievers in 37 and 2/3 innings, their biggest problem is they've walked 16 guys, and that's something I don't want to see. But I don't really have any big concerns on the pitching staff. I think Guerin's been all right. Strickland needs more. You know what? That is it. Strickland needs to come into the game more often. For some reason, Bochy seems shoddy with Strickland in high leverage situations right now when it feels like the game's on the line. He seems more willing to actually go with Guerin or even Osich right now, and I don't understand that.
No, I don't. That's true, and Strickland's looked good in his limited time so far.
Yeah, I don't know why it's limited either. I really don't. The guy's, he's had one off day, I think. But other than that, this is not the Giants. The 2010 pitching staff is not walking through that door. It's not going to happen. It's going to be Baum and Cueto are really good. Samardzija's okay. And then PV and Kane are to get you along. And that's all they need this year.
No, it's true. It's true. All right, so let's play a little armchair manager. So I didn't see every single inning of all these games this past week, but last night on Sunday Night Baseball was a little bit of a highlight for me. And I was a little surprised about what happened in the 7th inning, but the Giants were down 2-1 at the time in the top of the 7th, and they had a runner on first with 1 out, and Jeff Samardzija was coming up. Now, of course, he had pitched a very good game up to that point. It was 2 runs through 6 innings, nothing wrong with that. But you're down by 1, and I'm not saying the Dodgers bullpen is great, but at the same time, Maeda had been pitching really, really well, and I'm just a little surprised that the Giants didn't pinch hit for Samardzija there. So, and of course, no one could have forecast a double play. Unfortunately, he was trying to move the runner over, and he ends up, getting 2 outs, and it's the end of the inning. So, but even before that happened, that result, I was still calling for a pinch hitter. What do you think?
Well, I think Bochy's caught between a rock and a hard place right now.
Yeah.
I think between the shortened bullpen in a sense, but it's not anymore now that they filled it up. But like, I think he's got to like pick and choose his management of the pinch hitters. But even so, you know what? You're right. It's kind of a head scratch here because Samardzija ended up coming out in the next half inning. What, he gave up a base hit and he was yanked already.
Yeah. So
okay. No, he faced a few guys. Okay,
Yeah,
he did. He did. He gave up a single, and then Puig stole second, then another single, and then he walked a guy, and then he took him out.
Yep.
So I guess Bochy had in mind that he was going to ride Samardzija longer. I'm with you. A pinch hitter in that situation, and I'm talking somebody like Mac Williamson that can put a charge into a ball. I think he would be the choice. It was still a one-run game at that point, wasn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was 2-1. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a 2-1 game. I think Bochy was just maybe going with the old adage, play for a tie on the road and win at home, and was trying to move the runner around. But, you know, if you have enough faith in the bullpen, I'm with you. That was kind of head-scratching. Maybe Bochy's just caught in between a rock and a hard place, but I would have liked to see somebody swinging a bat who could swing. And you're right. Results aside.
Yeah,
had he just popped out and the double play didn't happen, we might still be talking about it too. So,
yeah, that's true.
You know.
But even a successful bunt, you know, there's a runner at second with 2 outs, so now you have one shot at a base hit. I don't know.
Right, and you're leaving it up to who was batting ninth. You're leaving it up to Pagan's been hitting well this. Yeah, he has been hitting well, but in the context of last night's game, Pagan didn't seem to be seeing the ball as well.
Yeah, no, exactly.
He did not have. What was he? He was 0 for 3 last night. He struck out 3 times. So, you know, there you go. So no, yeah, he totally. If he had used somebody, I wouldn't have complained there at all.
No, not at all. So my computer decided to die right now with my notes. So can you move us along to? I think we had a Twitter question,
absolutely.
right?
Yes, did have a Twitter question. It comes from Cameron Bell. His handle is at SoSolo26. It's SOSOLO 26, just to get that right for you, Cameron. With Mad Bum and Hernandez, Enrique Hernandez, in reference to Friday night, Kike Hernandez of the Dodgers hit 2 home runs off of Bumgarner. He asked, with Mad Bum and Hernandez, was it him missing location or being predictable? And how does Bum mix it up to hitters? I think the best answer is to just focus on the Kike question, and the answer is you can't explain it. Kike sees the ball out of Bum's hand. Bum was really good that night, even though he ran a little trouble late. Everybody owns somebody. It just happens. It's just baseball. You know, that's where ownage comes from with Kruk and Kipe. You know, I can tell you a guy I owned, 20, you just remember you see the ball better from. And for some reason, Kiki sees the ball better out of Bumgarner's hand. It's like Goldschmidt against Lincecum, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know, I think Bum has been mixing it up is just location in the zone, because he tries to pound the zone more than anything. So I think it was just, dumb luck. Do you see anything different?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, it's just shit happens.
Yeah, there's nothing. It's if he allowed 4 home runs and it was spread across some guys, I would say there was more credence to that possibility. But there's always some guy, and he's a young guy. Sometimes like a Trevor Story, right? He comes up and he hits 7 home runs. He had 2 off of Greinke. What are you going to do? I mean, that happens, right? Now, if Enrique Hernandez, ends up hitting, 6 home runs off of Bum this year, maybe. Or if Bum starts giving up home runs to everyone, definitely. But no, it was one game. It's a microcosm. He got him on 2 pitches. What are you going to do? It's not a pattern. It's not consistency.
Well, he owns him. He's like something 11 for 16 now with 3 homers off Bum.
Yeah.
But, the rest of the order is not 11 of 16 with 3 homers off Bum. He still controlled those guys pretty well.
Yeah, if you look at every, Cy Young candidate over the last, basically all of baseball, you can always find 1 or 2 or 3 guys that own him. That's the way it is. Now, the pitchers may own 95% of the batters, but there's always going to be a small microcosm, small portion of the batters that are just, for whatever reason, see the ball well, or were really good on those days, had their Wheaties. I mean, it happens. So no, I'm not concerned about Bum missing his spots or becoming too predictable. I don't think it has anything to do with it. But thanks for the question, Cameron. Really appreciate it. That's good.
All right.
So
you're back on the okay. I was gonna say we can move on and look ahead.
I'm back.
We can
Reboot it.
That was a long, tough one. I saw the square moving. That's how I knew.
So coming up, we got a long homestand, don't we?
Yeah, 10 full games.
10 full games. That's quite a lot. We got 4 against Arizona starting tonight, 3 against Miami, and of course Bonds is going to be returning. I'd really like to cover one of those games. I'd love to be able to just see if I could even ask Bonds a question, but I don't think that would happen. And then I think 3 against San Diego the following week, but hopefully we'll be podcasting right before that series or right after that first game. What's really cool is I am not going to be attending tonight's game, but Willie Gregory, who has not been on the podcast for a few episodes, he moved to Austin. He's one of the originators of this podcast along with Ben. He's been ramping up his podcasting schedule and his career out there, so it's been a little rough for him to make the show. But he is traveling back out to San Francisco next week, and so we are both going to be covering the game against the Padres next Monday night. So hopefully we're going to be able to do either a pregame bonus-sode or a postgame bonus-sode. So I'd say look for that. That might be in replacement for episode 103. We'll see what happens in the week. But, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. The Giants are going to be coming home. This is where they can get healthy. This is where – now, I know they got Kane and Peavy these first 2 games, so we'll see what happens. They are going to be facing one of the Arizona prospects. It's not his Major League debut, but the Giants have obviously struggled and continue to struggle against young pitchers. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's their unfamiliarity or whatever, but what's his face? For the Dodgers, of course, had a no-hitter through
Stripling.
7 innings. Stripling, thank you.
Yes, it sounds like something you get at the home improvement store.
Yeah. Can I get some stripling for my garage door? I know.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens tonight. The guy had a few appearances last year, had like a 5-point-something ERA. I don't think that really has any relevance to how he's
it's
perform
Archie
tonight.
Bradley. I totally missed this news. I'm still looking at some notes from yesterday. I thought it was De La Rosa. He must have pitched yesterday then.
Yeah, no, he's going to pitch tonight because the Arizona bullpen was really taxed because of Shelby Miller, I guess, last night. On a follow-through in the second inning, he cut open his finger on the mound on his follow-through. Very freak injury. And so they had to tap into their bullpen, and so they needed to call up an extra guy. So that guy is going to be not a rookie, but a young guy, very limited major league experience, going to be pitching against the Giants tonight. We got Kane or Peavy going tonight? Who is it?
Tonight is Peavy.
It is Peavy, right? Because Kane is number 5.
Right.
So
Kane will face Robbie Ray tomorrow night, and then on Wednesday 4:20 is Bumgarner Greinke.
Yes. Ugh. God knows that'll be Greinke's best start of the year. I swear.
Yeah, because he's been horrible so far.
Exactly. So it just makes sense, right?
Yep. And then Thursday afternoon is Cueto against Shelby Miller. If he's okay.
If he's okay. We don't know.
Yeah, I don't know from the stuff I've looked at, but it's nice that Cueto's the getaway. They're the ones getting away, but it's 4 games against Arizona should get them healthy again. I mean, I wouldn't want to be the Diamondbacks after the way the Giants lost 2 of these last 3 games.
Okay.
It was not a fun road trip for them.
No, it was not. It was not. Yeah, so hopefully let's get healthy tonight against Arizona. In these next 10 games, hopefully they can pull off 6 or 7 wins would be great. 8 would be cherry on top. So anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about your weekly column on torchcast.com. It's been fantastic. I think you've done 3 of these so far. So you want to talk a little bit about it?
Well, it's funny because I was going to roll right into that with the Marlins being there this weekend, because if you've been by Torturecast and read my Friday 5, every week I go through, what's ahead and stuff like that. And I can guarantee you this week is going to be full of Barry Bonds stuff because he's returning with the Marlins as their hitting coach for Friday night's game. And every week I'm taking a look at what's ahead for that weekend, because we record early in the week usually. So we cover what's, gone on over the weekend, and we look ahead to the week. And this way we have a cap on the end of the week so we can look ahead to the other series and see what we missed. And every week I'm checking in on an ex-Giant. So if people are curious about, how an ex-Giant is doing somewhere down the way, I checked in on Vogie last week. He got himself a win for the Pirates. He's actually made a start for Pittsburgh this year. I didn't know that. Which is pretty good. Vogie got his first win for them since 2006, which was also pretty neat. So I look at that stuff every week, and I'm excited for this week because it's going to be Bonds, and so far people are responding. It's grown each week, so it's something that should stick around all season.
That's awesome. That's great. And I think we're going to close with Vin Scully's Bumgarner story. Now, I did hear this on the old YouTube, but it's pretty cool. So you put this in the notes. So why don't you go ahead and take this one?
Well, I put it in the notes because I stumbled across a Samardzija story that I want to share after the Bumgarner story, because the Bumgarner story was actually written up by Tom Verducci in 2014 for the Sportsman of the Year magazine. Uh-huh. And so Vin, who's broadcasting the Bumgarner-Kershaw Friday night, and on the Twitters all across baseball, everybody's tuned in. It's Bumgarner-Kershaw, and it's Vin Scully in his last year. And Vin just starts talking about the story, and this is a great story about Madison Bumgarner. You can find it. It's all over. Just Google it. But to share the story with you, I'm going to lift a quote from Tom Verducci's profile. He's talking about how it's the best tale about the man they called Mad Bum. One day during spring training in 2014 in Scottsdale, Bum and his wife, Allie, were roping cattle when Madison was startled by a large snake he figured was a rattler. He grabbed an axe and hacked it to pieces. The man just grabbed an axe and hacked the snake to pieces, didn't even think twice about it. And Allie, who apparently is an expert field dresser, examined what was left of the snake. They found 2 baby jackrabbits inside pieces of it, extracted them, and a short while later they noticed one of the rabbits was moving slightly because it was still alive. So Allie brought it back to their apartment in Scottsdale for spring training and nursed it and kept it warm and bottle nursed it, and soon it was healthy enough for them to release into the wild. And the quote Bum had about it, which totally sums him up, this is just unbelievable, was, think about how tough that rabbit was. First it gets eaten by a snake, then the snake gets chopped to pieces, then it gets picked up by people, and it still lives. It's all true. And Vin had everybody on Twitter. There's YouTubes of it out there. MLB threw up a video about him spinning it in between the pitches, because he was doing it with, okay, and here's a 1-1 pitch, and he jumped right back into the story.
Oh, Vin Scully's a master at that. He's so good.
He is, and it's sad that this is his last season doing the Dodgers broadcast. Even I sneak over to the Dodgers side when I'm watching Dodgers-Giants sometimes, but generally not. But, I watch Dodgers games when the Giants aren't playing, and it's nice to always hear Vin. And there's only one man in baseball he could tell a story about like that, and it's Madison Bumgarner.
Yeah.
I mean, just the wherewithal to pick up an axe and just be like, what the heck, and chop up the snake. I mean, that part of the story is stunning, but the fact that they then bring a jackrabbit back to life, it was kind of Vin at his finest at the same time as talking about one of the greats in the game today.
Oh, so awesome. I love it.
Yeah, it really was. So seek it out on YouTube if you can see it. I think I linked to the SB Nation story in our notes, so you can also see it there. And it was funny because I was looking through the some Giants media stuff last night, and I came across an interesting story about Samardzija. He met his wife backstage at a Pink Floyd concert in 2012. Now, Samardzija going to Pink Floyd, that doesn't shock me at all. But apparently he didn't catch her eye, and so he had to send his brother. She worked for the band, and he only got her first name. So
really?
His brother Sam had to do some sleuthing and find out who she was and how to contact her. So a week after he met her, Sam found her name and address, and Jeff sent a handwritten letter with his phone number. And she called, and they dated over the phone, and then they got married just last year. February, and they should have had their first child this past February. But he met her. Yeah, it's like old school. He met her, and then he didn't know her name, so he tracked her down, sent her a handwritten note, and left it up to her, and now they're married.
Wow. I had no idea.
Pink Floyd. If he never goes to that Pink Floyd concert,
right.
it never
don't
meets
happen.
his life. No, and I thought it was kind of like, it's funny because Bum and Samardzija seem to be such good pals, and yet they live such different kind of lifestyles. But when they're in the dugout and they're in the clubhouse, the guys are all the guys, and that's why this team and Samardzija should thrive here and things like that. And I thought that was a fascinating story about Samardzija too.
Oh no, that's really cool. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for episode 102 of the Torture Cast. Thanks for joining us today. We actually did keep it around an hour. That's not too bad.
Yeah, look at that.
So, a little social media housekeeping here. You can follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. Of course, you can also like us on Facebook, and we have some old YouTube videos from our media days, and I'm going to start reposting episodes up there as well. You can follow us individually, myself at ChadK21 and Eric at 2OutHits. That's with the number 2. For the absent Ben Fried Lee, you can follow him at Fried Duck. That's with 2 Ds. And for Willie Gregory, Willie Dills, you can also follow him at Willie Dills. And so for myself and Eric, this is episode 102, and we'll see you next time for episode 103.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.